to deal with them effectively, because this contamination of the heart, you have brought yourself to a place of always feeling down. You brought yourself to a place of a Charlie Brown mentality. Why is everybody picking on me? Po me. Nothing ever goes right for me. It don't seem like life has dealt me a good hand, or whatever the case may be. It just seems like everything is going wrong. If you have that kind of mentality, then that is going to affect your heart, and that can cause you to not have a pure heart. Now, on the other scope that I talked about is with the pure heart. The pure heart is desiring to see someone be blessed, desiring to have good intentions, to really genuinely be happy for someone when something is going for them, if it's not going for you. I don't know how many of y'all know this right here, but you have a time and a turn as it relates to God. You have a time and a turn. If you would understand, in the book of Galatians, I think it's chapter 4, it says, and when the fullness of time had come, when the fullness of time had come, God sent, it said, his son into the world to save this world. Okay, so there had to be a particular timing for things to happen. Anybody that you see that has gotten they become a celebrity or what have you, if you listen to their story, they will talk about what they use a word called being discovered. I was discovered when Jay-Z heard one of my songs, and that put me out here, or whatever the case may be. For instance, Paul Crouch heard one of T.D. Jakes' messages, and that put T.D. Jakes out there, so it brought him to a place of being discovered. Sophia Ruffin talks about how John Eckhart was a great blessing to her. I need to tell you that there is a time and your turn. You have a time and a turn, but until your time and your turn come, what you do and how you handle things determines your time and your turn. You don't want God to show up and say, hey, December the 8th is your time and your turn, and you haven't prepared yourself by making sure that you have clean hands and a pure heart. You don't want your time and your turn to show up, and your personality and your generational curses and all of the stuff that you struggling and wrestling with, it beats you out of your time and your turn, when the whole time you've been sitting there crying or just bawling about, I wish things would get better for me. I wish things would get better for me. Well, listen, let me tell you something, sweetheart. You have a time and a turn. You have a time and a turn. Please hear what I'm saying to you. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the worst sinner there is in the world. God has purposed your life according to Jeremiah 29 and 11. God has purposed your life with a time and a turn. A time and a turn. You just got to make the time to make the turn. You have got to put in the time to make the turn is what's got to happen. You got a time and a turn. And so God has not designed your life to be rough. God, now you can have all that. God has not designed your life to be full of struggle. You can keep every bit of that. I ain't going in that with you. You can have that. God has not. I don't care what I had to go through. I've had to have some show enough struggles in this lifespan of what I've lived so far. It would look like, if you knew the story, it would look like it was nothing good gonna go good for Delphine. It was just, life started off bad. You hear me? Life started off. I got a scar right here. If you can see this scar on my arm right here that goes, it's a long scar from there to all the way down to here, where the iron fell on my arm. I was less than a year old. I was crawling, and Virginia them was ironing to go to school, and the iron fell on my arm, and they were not in the room. It sat there on my arm. I got this scar. So life began to bring about some things. Mama said I got sick and ended up having to be in the hospital for some days, and they were trying to figure out what was going on with me. Life was dealing, there was life coming about with some things. I ended up being fondled by an older guy at 5 and 6 years old. I ended up going through a rape. I call it a rape because I didn't consent to it. Ended up going through that. Ended up getting pregnant at 14, delivering at 15. And all of you look at all of this stuff, it would seem as though she's not going to ever have a time and a turn. She ain't going to ever have a time. How? I could have sit there and look at every bit of that and say, hey, life just bad. But, honey, put that in the trash. Throw that in the garbage can. Do you hear me? There is a time and a turn for every one of you. I don't care. I don't care what you did. God knows how to take that mess. Ooh, and God will put you on a platform where you can tell that mess and be nothing but blessings to folk. You better hear what I'm saying to you. That mess will end up being your greatest blessing, because what if I get a book out of this mess that I've gone through that puts me in a whole bracket financially as to where it just opens a door for me, and then boom, somebody wants me to come on television, and boom, there we go. The little chick that sits at 7 o'clock on Tuesday morning, every Tuesday morning, that's been doing it for years, is now become worldwide known. See what I'm trying to tell you? You got a time and a turn. You better not forget that. You got a time and a turn. I don't care what's going on with you. I don't care what the situation look like, y'all. You got a time and a turn. You better hear what I'm saying to you. The only thing that you got to do is make sure that while you are dealing with all these seasons that life is bringing, make sure that you are walking circumspectly. Make sure that you have your posture to the best of your ability. If you've been over sometime, or even if you decide that you want to throw in the towel sometime, that's okay. That's part of life. That's part of feelings. It's going to be like that. Some days I say, I'm through with this. And it's going to be like that. But you got to understand where the motivation has to come to you is because you have a time and a turn. That's what I need to let you know this morning. I'm talking about the ownership of God. You have a time, God help me. You have a time and a turn. Don't you forfeit your time and your turn. Please don't forfeit your time and your turn. Don't you allow situations to put you in a predicament where you give up your time and your turn. Please don't do that. Just know that, hey, it may be dark right now. Just know that I may be dealing with some stuff. Please, but I got a time and a turn. If I just keep holding on, if I make sure that these hands are clean to the best of my ability. How do I clean my hands? Let me talk to y'all about this. How do I clean these hands? Cleaning of the hands means that I am constantly, always, even when I get them dirty, I go to me some soap. You wouldn't have to have clean hands if you didn't have dirty hands, or if your hands did not have the potential or capabilities of getting dirty. Oh, God, I wish y'all hear me this morning. Clean hands is because there will be some times, God help me this morning, there will be some times that your hands have the potential to get dirty. Clean hands. So what that means is that if you go outside and you're cleaning up your yard, your hands get dirty because of what you're having to deal with. But what are the chances of someone dealing with something dirty and not having access to something that'll clean? You go out and clean up in the yard with a mindset that when I get done cleaning this up, I'm going to go take a bath. That is because you know you got water. You know you got soap that's going to get that off of you. So the Lord is wanting to let us know that you have what it takes to get that off of you. You got the blood of Jesus. The blood of Jesus will give you some clean hands. The blood of Jesus will give you some clean hands. Again, the blood of Jesus will give you some clean hands. So verse 4, Psalms 24, verse 4, it says, he that has clean hands, a pure heart A pure heart. Let me talk to y'all for a second about a pure heart. A pure heart, listen, you've got to be honest in order to have a pure heart. You've got to be honest. Even in the midst of something that you don't like or something that bothers you, you've got to be honest about it. Because that's what keeps a pure heart. That's what keeps a pure heart. My soul is literally grieved because of the lack of honesty and truth that we as people possess. We're not as honest as we need to be. Now, I do believe that you have to wait till a certain, there's a timing for everything. Like you may have to wait till a particular time to talk to someone about something or whatever the case may be. I'm 100% for that. I believe in that. But I do believe that opportunities will open up for you to be able to do that if you are sincere out of your heart about having a pure heart about it. And we are notorious, y'all, about being dishonest about things. And that's not a pure heart. That's not a pure heart. Some would think having a pure heart is the first definition I talked about of, okay, yeah, I want to see somebody be blessed. I'm happy for them. They would think that's a pure heart. Yeah, that is a part of a pure heart. But having a pure heart is literally meaning that I'm honest. I am walking in my place of truth. That's where the pure heart comes from. If my life is in a place of truth, if my life is in the right posture, then I don't have a issue with having a pure heart as it pertains to you. You ain't got to worry, Lord help me this morning. You ain't got to worry about me doing anything to hurt you. You don't have to worry about sabotage. You don't have to worry about any of that if I have a right heart. If my heart is pure, then that's what my heart is going to project out of. Because remember, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth will speak. So if my heart is pure, my mouth is going to come out pure. It's going to come out pure. So pure heart. So that means if something has hurt your feelings, if something has bothered you or what have you, then you have a pure heart about it, or you are willing to talk about it. You are willing to be honest about it. So what keeps us in a position of not fulfilling what this verse is talking about is the fact that we won't be honest. Some of us have situations where we feel as though we can't talk about stuff because we've been in arenas where folks have tried to silence us and told us to shut up. Even as kids, they say kids should be seen and not heard. Well, there is a truth to that, but there's also a damaging effect to that as well, because it can put a kid in a position as to where they think they have no voice. And if you take my voice when I'm a child, I'm not really going to have it as an adult. Or if I do have it as an adult, it's going to come out in the wrong way because I'm angry about the fact that I never had one as a child. So we have to know how to deal with it. So it says a pure heart. So that is a heart of honesty. If you don't like the Brussels sprouts, then hey, look, just say you don't like the Brussels sprouts. It doesn't mean that Brussels sprouts are bad. It just means you may not like them, or they are not seasoned in the way that you like them. It doesn't make them bad, but we will stop and we won't talk, or we won't share or express what's going on with us because of the fact that we don't think it's going to be received or what have you, and that gets into your heart and it will mess up your pure heart. Okay, verse 4 also says, Psalms 24 verse 4, it says, who has not lifted up his soul to vanity? Your soul is your mind, your emotions, and your will. So you haven't, vanity means that it's vanity, it only means empty pretty much. That is a synonym for vanity, empty. It says lifted up his soul to something that does not mean anything. If you have gotten his soul caught up in stuff that's going to pass away, looking more unto material things, or looking more unto the creation more than looking unto the creator. That's what it's talking about. When we put ourselves in positions as to where God is not the focus of our lives, he's not the number one subject or the number one entity in our lives, then we are lifting up our soul unto vanity. If all you want to do is live your life to try to prove prove to somebody what you got, and all this kind of stuff. You are lifting your soul up to vanity. You know why? Because your soul is what's going to spend something somewhere in eternity. Your house and your car and your job ain't. You die today, they'll hire somebody else for your job. You die today, your children will get your car and probably wreck it, or won't do nothing like you would with it. You die today, they'll get your house, and if they don't want to live in it, they'll just sit there and let it go down because they're trying to build their own life somewhere. So he says,